The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a financial planning practice serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of either Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services, Inc.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Fed15 podcast presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we'll discuss the latest news and info that Feds need to know in 15 minutes or less, sometimes a little bit more, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the Fed world right now. Whether you are a seasoned federal employee or whether you're just starting out in your career, Fed15 has got you covered on what you need to know. So grab your coffee, kick back, and we'll tell you what you need to know but might have missed in the federal space this week. We are your hosts. I am Katelyn Murray, and I am joined by the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Dan Sipe. Dan, how's it going?
I am well, Katelyn. I am well. We're a little bit north of you, so we're finally warming up to pool season, and I know that's always a big deal for you.
Oh yeah.
So absolutely,
I do have to say the pool water is still freezing cold here, though. I don't know what's going on because it is definitely hot outside. We're in like the 90s, but still a little chilly. Either that or I'm just getting older. I can't regulate temperature as well.
I'm not going to comment on that at all. You are forever young in my book.
Love it. Love it. All right. So this week we've got we've got some interesting topics. Couple of articles up on the website this week. One is to do with OPM's retirement quick guide. It's a really, really, really good flyover for anybody who is going to be submitting a retirement application anytime soon. We're not going to get too in the weeds on that today because we have another big article. It's kind of a heavy hitter episode on schedule policy career. So new executive order signed in early June of this year. We're going to talk about what it entails. This is the executive order that lots of folks are concerned about stripping civil service rights from certain key federal workers. So we'll get into that in just a second. Dan's going to give us his take on that. But I want to talk for a moment about this retirement quick guide because I don't want this thing to get lost in kind of the sauce, right? There's a lot of stuff going on, but this is a really good resource for folks who are looking at, like I said, putting a retirement application in soon. So we'll take just a brief moment. If you are that person who's looking at retiring soon, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to go to our website at STWServe.com and give this article a full look through here because we're hitting the high points here on the podcast. Just want to kind of pull your attention to it. So in general, flyover on the retirement process, right? Because you guys only retire once. Some of you who have second and third and fourth careers because you Feds stay busy, retirement more than once. But for most of you, you're only going to retire from federal service one time. That's where the team at Serving Those Who Serve can be a huge value add to you because we have been through the retirement process hundreds of thousands of times, right? Because we walk through this with clients of the firm. So we've been through it a ton of times, and that's where our experience can really add some value. So in general, we've got 5 key stages of the retirement processing kind of adventure. Stage 1 is your retirement date, right? That is your official separation from service for retirement. That's what you think of as your be-all, end-all retirement, right? Stage 2, though, after that retirement date, we've got the agency and payroll processing. So during that stage, your agency is going to prepare and submit your application package to OPM. That's typically going to take about 30 to 45 days, about a month to a month and a half to process. Then we've got stage 3, right? The OPM intake stage. So OPM is going to establish you as the retiree in its system, and they're going to arrange for your interim annuity payments. Normally, that takes about 10 to 15 days. This is the part of the process that has been somewhat delayed for some folks, okay? Not for all folks, but some folks are experiencing a little bit of a delay there with OPM being somewhat short-staffed, okay? So after the OPM intake, where they've put you into their system and they are arranging your interim annuity payments, then we enter stage 4, which is the OPM processing stage. OPM is going to review the retirement paperwork. It's going to calculate your retirement benefits, make sure that all the T's are crossed, all of the I's are dotted. Typically, that takes anywhere from 10 days, if you are really lucky, to 3 months, okay? Because they're checking all of those numbers. Of course, your agency received it, your agency took a look at it, but OPM is kind of where the buck stops. So they're going to recalculate everything and make sure that everything is lining up. And then stage 5 is the retirement finalization stage, okay? So this one doesn't happen until a while after that retirement date, right? Stage 1, that's when you get your first full annuity payment, okay? Generally, the time frame for that, we used to tell people 3 to 6 months, okay? In the new environment that we're in right now, we're seeing that 5 to 10 months after retirement. I want to be clear there, 5 to 10 months after retirement for the first full annuity payment. You should be getting interim payments through that time. But you need to make sure, if you are making a plan for retirement, that you've got some cash on the side somewhere that you can use to kind of subsidize income for 5 to 10 months before you get that full first annuity payment. They will make sure that you are whole. They will go back and pay you a lump sum for the period of time that you were, whatever you were due during that interim. The difference between your interim payment and your full annuity payment, they will give you that in a lump sum, but not until they finalize that retirement. Okay? So we will dig into kind of all of the to-dos in that article if this pertains to you, but I want to give you 4 tasks that you need to do before you retire, because I always love to give you homework on this podcast, okay? I don't want you getting bored. First thing you need to do, download your personnel records if your agency uses EOPF, okay? Your access is going to be lost after retirement. There may be things that you need to prove, and it's very hard to prove those things if you're not holding your personnel records. We went through this in 2025. If you were listening to this podcast then, I had you do it then. We harped on downloading your personnel records then. If you didn't do it then, do it now. Make sure you have your records. It's very important, especially in our current environment in the federal government, okay? Second thing you want to do is complete all of your CSRS or FERS deposit and redeposit payments before you retire. This is going to include any post-1956 military service deposits. If you are that person, you should know what that is. If you don't, contact us at Serving Those Who Serve, okay? Third thing you want to do, gather and submit all of your required supporting documents, including your marriage certificates, military records, and court orders, okay? Make sure that you have this stuff on hand. If you think it's in a file cabinet somewhere, but one thing, your marriage cert might be somewhere, your military records might be elsewhere, go ahead and gather them, put them in one lovely folder, and do that before you apply for retirement, because you're going to need those things, okay? And the last thing you want to do is review your eligibility requirements for continuing FEHB and FEGLI coverage into retirement, okay? It would be really not nice. So if FEHB has that 5-year rule, right? You got to be enrolled for 5 years. Be terrible if you hit your MRA and your service requirement and then you retired a month before you had 5 years in FEHB. That would suck. Don't do that. Make sure that you check those things. And then the honorary 6th thing that I will add with my purview as being the co-host of this podcast is, if you haven't had a benefits analysis done with Serving Those Who Serve, add that to your list. That's complimentary. We will do it for you. Complimentary. No obligation, but the benefits analysis is going to walk you through not just FEHB, not just FEGLI, but your FERS. It's going to walk you through your survivor benefits. It's going to walk you through your Social Security so that you can have that full picture of what retirement is going to look like. And it's important to have that before we've set a date and turned in paperwork. So if you are interested in more from this article, there's layers and layers of detail here. Go to stwserve.com, search OPM's Retirement Quick Guide, and that'll pull it up for you. But I want to kind of get to the meat of the episode here. Dan, talk to us about this schedule policy career shift here, because I know this has got a lot of eyes on it from feds, and there's a lot of concern around this issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And kudos to you, Katelyn, for writing the article. And thank you for letting me comment on it, adding some OG color to this. So we're talking about Executive Order 14410. It was signed into effect on June 3rd, 2026, and it formally established this term, schedule policy career, in the accepted service. So literally, this is the return of Schedule F, which was Executive Order 13957 from October 2020. Administrations changed. The Biden administration revoked Schedule F. And I want to be clear about something right now. You're not going to hear me through the rest of this say Biden, Trump, red, blue. No, this is not a partisan thing. This is a Fed thing. And this is a red, white, and blue thing. And I feel very strongly about this. So the primary change from anything in the past is the updated name, Schedule Policy Career. So what does it mean? The Civil Service Act first came into play in the 1800s, 1883 to be precise. And it ended something called the spoils system. What was the spoils system? Our side won, we do what we want. Your side lost, deal with it. And we got a professional civil service out of it. And uniformly through the decades, that aspect has really been considered to have been an important advancement. Now, it was further refined in 1978 with the Civil Service Reform Act. And it built in some protections also for that dedicated professional career civil service. So, you have to have notice and you get response rights before removal or a major disciplinary action. You have the ability to appeal through the Merit Systems Protection, and you're protected from personnel actions based on your political party. So I think if we're walking down this path, whether you're a red or a blue, you can see where this is a better idea because one party doesn't stay in power forever. So if you happen to be of one particular persuasion and you're happy about this, understand that the wheel always turns, the other side gets in, and what do you want them to be able to do? So, but also built within Civil Service Reform and Protection, whistleblower protections exist for reporting waste, fraud, abuse, legal violations. Merit-based hiring and promotion rules help prevent favoritism and political patronage. So the OPM guideline that's out now indicates that schedule policy career employees may have more limited access to these protections. Okay. So let's get to the definition. It's an accepted service category for positions considered confidential, policy determining, policy making, or policy advocating. Okay. And it identified specific positions for reclassification. Most of those positions are senior level roles, primarily GS-15 and above. Now, does this affect all feds? Important. Listen to this. Share this with others. Right now, it affects less than 5,000, about 4,800. That doesn't mean there can't be creep at some point. But examples would include titles such as deputy director, associate director, senior advisors, chiefs of staff, budget officers, legislative affairs staff, public affairs staff, HR and labor relations officials, attorneys, senior counsel, program managers, policy analysts, branch chiefs, and division directors. The initial implementation seems like it's going to affect around 8,000. That's down from a 50,000 estimate that we had heard before. So most feds are not going to be directly affected. There are observers that believe this list could expand in the future. There's always the opportunity for creep out with anything. Okay. So what changes if that position is moved into schedule policy career? At that point, that person becomes an at-will employee. So those traditional civil service protections may not apply in the same manner. Okay. The June 8th guidance indicates that affected employees generally will not have Merit System Protection Board appeals rights regarding performance-based or disciplinary action. That's a big change. And make no mistake, this represents one of the most significant workforce policy changes in decades for anybody who's affected by it. Now, a couple of things that we feel it's important to touch on. Does it impact federal retirement benefits? No. For example, FERS retirement benefits remain unchanged. CSRS retirement benefits remain unchanged. Social Security, unchanged. TSP, unchanged. FEHB, unchanged. FEGLI, unchanged. Okay? Reclassified employees remain federal employees covered by those systems, unless something else changes, but for the moment. Okay? So now here's the quick draw, knee-jerk question that I know is out there. Should I retire now? Not necessarily. Retirement decisions have to be based on your personal and financial circumstances. Okay? So some employees may value increased certainty and they may want to get out. Others may benefit from continuing service to include pension benefits, growth, TSP balances, and to qualify for enhanced retirement benefits. But retirement decisions should be based on a financial analysis rather than headlines. And Katelyn talked about in the first part of this, if nothing else, reach out to her for a benefits analysis. We call it part 2. Why do we call it part 2? Because everything else is part 1. You read something, that's part 1. You got to go deeper. You watch something, that's part 1. You got to go deeper. You listen to something, that's part 1. You got to go deeper. This is your life we're talking about. So what should employees do if they believe their position is affected? Number 1, confirm it. Agencies are responsible for implementation and employee notifications. Review your retirement eligibility. Okay. Good time to take a look at TSP and retirement projections. You don't want to alarm anybody, tip your hand by requesting a retirement projection. We can help you do one. We have the software. Reassess your emergency savings. This is going to sound weird. Make sure your beneficiary designations are up to date. Not because you're going to die because of this, but it's easy to forget these things when there's something else in front of you, especially if it's a threat. Understand your agency specific guidance and don't be bashful. Consult legal and financial professionals with this. So how might this affect financial planning? You want to make sure that you've built up emergency savings, and if you haven't, get started right now. This doesn't mean just because you shifted, tomorrow you're going to be fired. Most likely, this is my opinion, it's going to be a situation where you're going to be asked to do something that you might not feel terribly comfortable doing. Okay. And if that comes up, understand you may not have the same legal protections that you had 6 months ago. Okay. But getting back to those emergency savings, want to see if you can build up about 6 months worth. Okay. Now, if you're single or if you're households with larger federal employees, maybe you want to have a bigger emergency fund. Okay. Another thing, don't let, and this is bound to have an emotional component, don't let that impact what you're doing with TSP. Maintain a disciplined long-term investment strategy, because even if you leave federal service, you are going to need that money to last a lifetime. And it needs to be invested accordingly. Okay. And again, if you have near-term retirement eligibility, you might benefit from updated retirement projections. If you're not wanting to, again, tip your hand, have people looking at you differently, we can run one of our benefits analysis and help you do that. If you are a current retiree, I don't see where you're going to be impacted by this. Your current retirement benefits should be unaffected. Your annuities will continue, Social Security continue, FEHB continue, FEGLI continue. So current retirees, from what we can see, aren't going to need to take any immediate action because of EO 14410. Okay. So some key takeaways for you here. Is this a significant change? Yes, it is. We're not trying to minimize that. It impacts access to traditional civil service protections. It is for a small group, but if you're in that, it doesn't matter that it's small. It's huge to you. Most federal employees are not going to be directly impacted by this. Don't panic. Take a look at your processes that you have in place. Take a look at your planning and your strategies in place. Be prepared and plan. Be proactive. Don't panic. And that's what I got.
Absolutely, Dan. And I couldn't agree more with that closing sentiment of be proactive, don't panic. As financial planners who are in the federal space, we walk a fine line where I don't want you guys to run out and panic because this thing has been rolled out. And when we're talking about something as significant as stripping, civil service protections from federal workers,
it's a big deal.
That's a huge deal, right? And we don't want to downplay that, but I also don't want us to run, hair on fire into, an impulsive mess either, because as Dan mentioned earlier, it is your life, right? So, should we be aware that this is a big honking deal? Yeah. And do I understand that this initial rollout, although when we first started talking about Schedule F, right, we were thinking that it would be way more wide sweeping than this. And I understand, we haven't said it explicitly yet, but I understand that this initial rollout only impacting 8,000 people. Dan read some of those job descriptions. That sounds like a whole lot more than 8,000 people to me. So I see that there's framework in this thing to make it more wide sweeping. This could be an opening volley that then later gets built upon and is more wide sweeping. But where we're at right now on the timeline, it's 8,000 folks. For those 8,000 folks, absolutely, if you are impacted, reach out to us. We will do everything that we can to help you bolster your own financial situation and feel comfortable moving forward in whatever direction you decide to move forward. Similar to you, Dan, I don't want people panicking, right? We need to be proactive. We need to have our ducks in a row. We need to know what it looks like if we lose our job tomorrow, right? We need to know what that looks like. What is the game plan? What is the plan B? What is the plan C? And for all of that, serving those who serve is here to support the federal community. So we'll keep our heads screwed on and just think our way through this and play the cards as they fall, right?
This might not be a perfect analogy, but if you find yourself in a building and there is a fire, one way out is to jump out of a high window, and that will get you out of the fire. Yeah. But there could be other problems with it. There are also frequently ways to get out. So all we're saying is use this. This is important. Use this and work your way out to making the best decision for where you
are. Absolutely.
And I think, I'm sorry to say it, no, that's all the time we have today, folks. But have no fear. We'll be back next week to bring you the latest updates you need to make informed decisions, just like we did today, about your career and financial well-being as a Fed.
And to make sure that you are here to listen to that episode next week, make sure that you are subscribed. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify, you can subscribe there as well. Even if you don't need the notifications, which I get it, I hate having all kinds of notifications on my phone. Even if you don't need the notifications, by subscribing, you are voting this podcast up in the algorithm so that we can reach more federal government employees and retirees. So we really appreciate that.
Absolutely. And for more information on the topics we covered today, and even more, if you can believe it, be sure to check out our blog over at STWServe.com and subscribe to our newsletter, The Weekly Serving. And then you'll get the latest stuff delivered straight to your inbox every single week.
And for those who want to dive even deeper into learning about your federal benefits and financial planning for feds, we encourage you to join us for one of our complimentary webinars coming up. We host webinars on all sorts of benefits areas. Coming up here pretty soon, we've got tax planning on July 21st.
Never too early.
From 1 p.m. Absolutely. That'll be from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we've got FEHB coming up on July 29th. From 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., again, Eastern Standard Time. Both of those sessions will be presented by the one, the only Mr. Ed Zerndorfer. Jen Meyer from the team, friend of the podcast. She's co-hosted with us multiple times. She's going to be hosting that session with Ed for tax planning, and FEHB will be Ed and Dan, the dynamic duo.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for a more personalized touch, hit us at meetings@STWServe.com. And we'll sit down with you and explain stuff to you. We call that part 2. Why? Because everything else is part 1. You read it, you listened to it, you saw it, whatever. You got part of the picture because the other part is how it affects you. And that's what we bring to the table on that one.
Absolutely.
And with that, I hate to go. I don't want to go, but I got to go. So thank you. Listen to Fed15. I'm Dan Sipe.
And I'm Katelyn Murray.
And we will see you next week.